The year 52 BCE was a crucible of conflict, destined to forge the future of Gaul and Rome. Vercingetorix, a charismatic chieftain of the Arverni, rose as a singular leader for the disparate Gallic tribes. He successfully united a grand coalition of peoples, a feat previously thought impossible. Their shared goal was the complete expulsion of Julius Caesar and his legions from their lands. Vercingetorix initiated a brutal, effective strategy of scorched earth. Fields were burned and granaries emptied to starve the ever-advancing Roman war machine. Caesar, undeterred by the lack of supplies, pushed his legions harder, his resolve like iron. After a series of sharp engagements, Vercingetorix made a fateful decision. He chose to consolidate his massive army of 80,000 warriors at the oppidum of Alesia. Alesia was a natural fortress, a high plateau with steep, nearly unassailable slopes. Two rivers flowed through the valleys on either side, adding to its formidable defenses. Vercingetorix believed this stronghold would be Caesar's undoing. His plan was to withstand a siege, while a massive relief army was gathered from all corners of Gaul. Caesar arrived and surveyed the daunting task before him. He knew a direct assault would be a foolish waste of Roman lives. Instead, he decided to entomb the Gallic army with a feat of military engineering. He ordered the construction of an unprecedented set of fortifications. A circumvallation, an 11-mile ring of walls and trenches, would face inwards to trap the Gauls. Before this inner ring was sealed, Vercingetorix dispatched his cavalry into the night. Their mission was to rally the tribes and bring back a liberating host. Caesar, fully aware of the coming relief force, gave a second, audacious order. A second line of fortifications, the contravallation, was to be built facing outwards. This outer ring stretched for a staggering 14 miles. The Roman army was now intentionally trapping itself between two enormous enemy forces. These were no simple earthen walls. Deep trenches were dug, some filled with water diverted from the nearby rivers. Hidden pits, called lilia for their resemblance to flowers, concealed sharpened stakes. Fields of kippi, sharpened branches, entangled and buried, were set to maim attackers. 23 redoubts and numerous watchtowers punctuated the entire system. The legionaries worked with relentless, disciplined efficiency. Inside Alesia, the mood began to shift from confidence to desperation. Food supplies, meant for warriors, dwindled at an alarming rate. Presence of the local Mandubi population strained the resources further. A grim council was held among the Gallic chieftains. Critognatus, a chieftain, delivered a chilling speech suggesting cannibalism over surrender. While his proposal was rejected, a different, tragic decision was made. The women, children, and elderly of Alesia were to be expelled. They hoped Caesar would show them mercy and allow them to pass. The civilians trudged slowly into the no-man's land between the two armies. Caesar, his logic cold and brutal, refused them passage. He could not afford to feed thousands of enemy non-combatants. Trapped and starving, they perished slowly in the space between the walls. This act cast a dark shadow over the entire siege. Then, on the horizon, a new hope for the Gauls appeared. The great Gallic relief army had finally arrived. Commanded by Commius and Vercassivellaunus, Vercingetorix's cousin, it was a formidable sight. A great roar went up from the walls of Alesia. The Romans, now caught in their own trap, stood ready. The first Gallic assault was a cavalry engagement in the valley. Caesar's German cavalry, his secret weapon, proved decisive. They routed the Gallic horsemen, sending them fleeing back to their camp. The next day, the Gauls launched a major night assault. They filled the Roman trenches with earth and fascines. The Roman defenses, however, held strong. Artillery, ballistae, and scorpiones wreaked havoc on the attackers. The assault was repulsed with heavy Gallic losses. The Gallic commanders then identified a weakness in the Roman lines. A northern hill had been too large to include in the circle, forcing the Romans to build on its slopes. This section was manned by 2 legions under the command of Titus Labienus. Vercassivellaunus was tasked with leading 60,000 men to attack this specific point. The final, decisive battle for Gaul was about to begin. At midday, Vercassivellaunus's force descended the slope with a thunderous roar. Simultaneously, Vercingetorix led a furious assault from within Alesia. The Romans were now fighting for their lives on 2 fronts. The noise of the battle was deafening, a cacophony of shouts, screams, and clashing metal. Caesar rode along the lines, his presence a beacon of hope for his beleaguered troops. He sent reinforcements to the most threatened sectors. The fighting at Labienus's position was the most intense. Labienus sent a desperate message to Caesar, informing him that his lines were about to break. In this critical moment, Caesar made his boldest move. He took several cohorts and his cavalry and rode out from the fortifications. He circled around and charged into the rear of the 60,000 Gauls attacking Labienus. The Gauls, caught completely by surprise, faltered. The sight of Caesar's purple cloak in the fray reinvigorated the Romans. Labienus's men launched a ferocious counterattack. The Gallic relief army broke and fled in a massive rout. From the walls of Alesia, Vercingetorix watched his last hope dissolve. The will of the defenders inside Alesia shattered. The great rebellion was over. Next day, the gates of Alesia opened one last time. Vercingetorix, dressed in his finest, most ornate armor, rode out alone. He rode to the Roman camp where Caesar was seated on a tribunal. He circled Caesar once before dismounting. He threw his weapons down at Caesar's feet in a gesture of ultimate surrender. The leader of the great Gallic revolt was now a Roman prisoner. The remaining Gallic soldiers were taken as slaves. Caesar gave 1 slave to each of his soldiers as plunder. The fall of Alesia effectively marked the end of Gallic independence. Gaul would be a Roman province for the next 500 years. The victory was a monumental personal triumph for Julius Caesar. It secured his reputation as one of history's greatest military commanders. Vercingetorix was taken to Rome in chains. He languished in a Roman prison for 6 years. In 46 BCE, he was paraded through the streets of Rome in Caesar's magnificent triumph. After the parade, he was ritually strangled in the Tullianum. His death was a final, brutal statement of Roman dominance. The Battle of Alesia was more than a siege. It was the birth of Roman Gaul. Caesar's engineering had defeated a nation. The double-wall trap had worked to perfection. It was a victory of discipline and engineering over passion and numbers. The memory of Vercingetorix, however, would endure. He became a national hero in France centuries later. But in 52 BCE, the fires of rebellion were extinguished. The Roman eagle had firmly planted its talons in the heart of Gaul.